Fair warning, this video is literally nothing but spoilers. So if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, stop watching this video now. You have been warned. I just came back from the film, so I'm still trying to digest, and I probably should think it over before I record a video, but I'd rather just spill my thoughts out into the universe immediately without rhyme or reason or clear context, because that's the way I like to make videos. I'm gonna start with the things I don't like about this film. There's no Hawkeye. That's probably the end of the list. Nope, not true. There's no Hawkeye. They do explain why Clint Barton isn't there. That explanation isn't good enough, and I'm kind of upset about it. The second thing that upsets me is that I don't know if Shuri disappeared or not, and that really upsets me because she is my new favorite Marvel character, and I don't understand why, when you revisited basically everyone else after, you know, the whole 50% of the world disappeared thing, you didn't revisit Shuri, and I don't know. And I'm angry about it. That's it. Everything else about the movie was wonderful. Things that were especially wonderful: Peter Dinklage plays a dwarf, but the dwarf is gigantic. And so Peter Dinklage plays a giant, which I appreciated and enjoyed. The meeting between Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy is a beautifully perfect little scene where everybody admires Chris Hemsworth, admires Thor for how gorgeous and muscular he is, and also the bit where Star-Lord makes his voice deeper to pretend to be like Thor. Golden. There are actually a lot of really good interactions between different heroes, and they bring this together in such a way that I felt the movie was too short. I do understand why they would want to split it into two parts, and they sort of did that, in that there is a definite ending to this part, an unfortunate definite ending, but clearly the story could continue into the next section, sort of like any kind of series, but doesn't feel like two parts in the same way that splitting Deathly Hallows into two parts felt like two parts. Feels more like two parts in that at the end of Empire Strikes Back, Han is captured, and you know that they have to do something, split into two parts. I really enjoyed a lot of the things that they did with this film. I liked the way they brought characters together. I also did appreciate that even though they brought a bunch of different characters together, they also separated the two. So Tony had his battle in space with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, and Cap had his battle on Earth, and so they still haven't spoken, which is interesting. There's a lot happening in this film, and it doesn't leave a lot of time for the things that I generally like about the Marvel films, which is a depth of character. And that's okay. They do give me a pretty good depth for Thanos, which I wasn't expecting. Thanos is a fascinating villain, and if you read Marvel Comics, there's actually currently a Thanos Marvel series happening right now, and they just had their big annual issue, which is absolutely maddeningly, oh, I can't say it. It's insane. The issue is absolutely insane, and the story that they have told about Thanos from a child developing into the Titan, the Mad Titan King, is beautiful, and I felt it echoed a little bit in this film with sort of his emotional moments, and it's cool to see a villain who believes that what he is doing is for the betterment of the world and the universe as a whole, and that's interesting, even if you completely believe that he's wrong. And there's also a parallel with the fact that Vision is willing to sacrifice himself. He tells Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, to basically destroy the Mind Stone while it's still in his body, which will kill him, in order to save half the world. And that's basically what Thanos is doing, just on a larger scale. So instead of sacrificing one person to save 50% of the population, he is sacrificing 50% of the population to save the whole rest of the universe, the other 50%. And it's an interesting layering to that. I don't know if they intended it that way, but I really, really liked it. I like the moments of all of the characters getting to see each other again, getting reunited, everybody seeing Bruce come back because Hulk comes back to Earth. Also, they have introduced this interesting sudden dynamic between Bruce and the Hulk where he wants to Hulk out and the Hulk will not come out, which is interesting, and I will be interested to see that explored. The film ends with 50% of the world disappearing. Weirdly though, it's 50% of the world, but it's 90% of the Guardians of the Galaxy, because the only Guardian that is still around is Rocket, because Groot and Star-Lord and Mantis and Drax vanish and Gamora gets killed by Thanos. So I guess because Rocket's the only one of his species, he survives. Although I thought that Mantis was the only one of her species too. So if it really killed 50% of the world, like, unfortunate that she was... No, I don't know. That's strange. Like, for everyone else, it pretty much makes sense. They're just in the unfortunate 50%. Rocket can't be because he's the only one. But, yeah. Let's not try and put logic into comic books, guys. It's a losing battle. But I listened to the people next to me be pretty devastated. Here's the thing. I have faith in what will happen in the future, mostly because the decision was made that the 50% of the world that they would kill were all of the young Avengers, and all of the originals survived. So you still have a Tony and a Steve and a Black Widow and a Thor, and instead you killed off the Scarlet Witch and Tom Holland and most of the Guardians of the Galaxy and Anthony Mackie, like all the people who could potentially take over the franchise. Oh yeah, and Bucky. I'm ignoring that fact. Can't process, can't think about the fact that Steve had to watch Bucky, you know, dissipate, especially because it happens right at the end of the film and there's no like moment for that, and I needed a moment. I still need a moment. I still need several moments. So clearly they're going to lead to something with that, and I'm interested to see. I have to wait a year, and I'm willing to wait that year to see what they develop and what happens, but it's clear that they had a vision that they are delivering on, and I kind of really like it. I finished the film and I wasn't sure, mostly because I couldn't believe that it was already over, and that's partially lending itself to the idea that it is part of a much larger story. But I also, you know, have a heavy heart with a bunch of characters disintegrating and half the universe dying, but faith that things will change. And overall, I thought that the film was well done, and it was action-packed and crazy, but it didn't lose that heart that it should have. So there were little moments for every character and every interaction that brought that Marvelness that I really like. Also, Ragnarok has clearly freed Thor to be way more Thor-like, and he's so much fun. Like, good on you, Chris Hemsworth. You have totally embraced the wacky side of Thor, and he was full force in this film, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. And just overall, all of the banter and everything was great. One of my favorite moments is when Bucky and Rocket Raccoon are fighting together, and they are shooting, and Bucky lifts Rocket up so that they can like spin and shoot, and he sets him down, and Rocket goes, "How much for the gun?" Bucky says, "It's not for sale." Rocket says, "How much for the arm?" And Bucky just looks at him. Rocket's like, "I'm gonna get that arm." Because, you know, everybody knows that Rocket has a thing for prosthetics. Also, he had an eyeball that he gave to Thor because he has a thing for prosthetics. That's not something that I knew. I don't think it's in the comics, but I like it as a character little quip. So overall, it's mostly an action film with a little bit of heart, and most of the heart revolves around Thanos and his story, and I think that that's okay. You do have some losses. I think that Loki's probably dead, which is unfortunate. And you don't know what's happened with the rest of the world. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that all boils down. But it makes me want to see the next one. And I thought that they delivered on what they had sort of promised, what they built to. It was just as devastating as a giant villain like Thanos should be. You shouldn't be able to conquer him because that's not what Thanos is. Thanos is the Mad Titan King. He is a destroyer of worlds, and it just needed to be that way. And so I thought that overall they did a fantastic job. And if Clint Barton had been in it, they would have done a completely amazing, incredible, perfect job. But he wasn't, and I'll have to deal with that. If you've seen Avengers Infinity War, please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. Or if you watch these videos, we're probably friends. So message me. I would love to talk about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. I especially am interested in conflicting thoughts. And should we discuss the whole call to Captain Marvel at the end? Because I feel like now I'm interested in how that whole thing wraps up, and also how Samuel L. Jackson curses as he disappears, which is not a Nick Fury thing, but is such a Samuel L. Jackson thing and was therefore perfect. So go see the movie if you haven't seen the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, why the hell did you watch this video? And I will see you tomorrow.